In the first two examples here, we're going to be going through circumference. So we're going to be finding the circumference of the circle, or the distance all the way around, once around the circle. Write your answer in both forms: exact, which means in terms of pi, and an estimate, rounded to the nearest tenth, using the pi button on your calculator. So what info do we know? In this case, right here, we know that our diameter is equal to 25 inches. And so the formula that we're going to use for circumference, if you come back up here, we're going to use the one with diameter, is pi d, or pi times d. And so what I'm going to do is 25 times pi. This is my exact answer right here, 25 times pi, 25 pi. When we're measuring a distance, we're measuring in inches, not inches squared or inches cubed, it's a length. So we've got 25 pi inches. And then it also wants an estimated answer. So what we're going to do is we're going to punch 25 times pi into our calculator. You should have a pi button if you have a scientific calculator. Otherwise, you could always use 3.14. And then 25 times pi, or 25 pi, is 78 and 0.5398163, and it would continue on because we're multiplying by that irrational number pi. And so we're going to take, rounded to the nearest tenth. The 5 is in my tenths place. I look one place to the right. The 3 tells my 5 to stay the same. And so my estimated answer here is 78 and 5/10 inches. And then again, you could always use 25 times 3 and 14/100 for the estimated answer if you didn't have the pi button on your scientific calculator. And let me scooch this up so that you can see my final answers here. Sorry. So on this next one, find the circumference of the circle. Write your answer in both forms: exact, which means in terms of pi, and an estimate, rounded to the nearest tenth. What info do we know? In this case, we know that the radius is equal to 7 centimeters. So the formula that we're going to use comes from up here with the radius, is circumference equals 2 pi r. Circumference equals 2 pi times r. And so the exact answer is 2 times my radius 7 times pi, which is equal to 14 pi. The commutative property of multiplication says that we can multiply in any order, so that's why I changed the order here to be 2r pi, just so that I have my two numbers next to each other. So my exact answer, or my answer in terms of pi, is 14 pi centimeters. My estimated answer, I can either use my calculator and plug in 14 times pi if I have the pi button. That's the easiest way if you have a scientific. And I'm getting 43.98229715 to the nearest tenth. The 9 looks at the 8. The 8 tells my 9 to round up. 1 more than 9 would be 10, so I actually end up making this my estimated answer 44 0.0 centimeters. I could also have done in my calculator 2 times 7 times 3.14 if I didn't have the pi button, and that would give me 43 96/100, which still rounds to the same answer here of 44 0.0 centimeters. So either way, it doesn't matter to me whether you use the pi button or 3.14 for your estimated answer, but the big difference, or the big thing to note here, is figuring out what do we know, radius or diameter, using that to help us decide which formula to use, pi times d or 2 pi r, and then knowing that our exact answer means that it's in terms of pi, it's a number with pi symbol, and then knowing that the estimated answer is rounded to the nearest tenth, and we can use 3.14 or the pi button on our calculator to get that answer to the nearest tenth. And then knowing that when we're finding circumference, we're finding a length or a distance, and so we need to make sure that we label. In this case, we labeled with inches and centimeters.